Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Adversity Headlines. Today we're going to talk about indigenous drug use in the Amazon and South America and the Andes and all over that area. And I want to elaborate a little bit on what I said in my last video. I had a few questions about that, and I briefly mentioned that the Amazon rainforest is most likely some sort of botanical garden gone awry on a country-sized level, and a lot of people didn't know what I meant by that. It coincides with this article from, I think it's from Science Mag, saying archaeologists find richest cache of ancient mind-altering drugs in South America. So before we get into that, in past videos I've talked about LiDAR technology and how they're able to map they're able to bypass the canopy of the Amazon and other rainforests and jungles to map the ground underneath. And what they found were these grids that, I mean, you could interpret however you want what those grids are, but if just go back, I'll have the link to that video. I did it probably sometime last November or something like that. And you can see that there are these deliberate grids that look like a city, like a planned city. Now, when you take that into account with what I said earlier about the Amazon being it's like a man-made rainforest in a sense. Why would there be a grid underneath that if it wasn't man-made? And if you could just picture for a second a city that is planned the way that the LiDAR revealed, and you mention the fact that there's more evidence coming out that there was a high civilization there that sustained millions of people thousands and thousands of years ago, then it's not impossible that they could have not only had all kinds of knowledge, but also that knowledge could have been practiced on a daily basis in the form of botany and farming and all of these things. And the reason why they think that is because there's a bunch of different, not only is there a diverse, and there are a lot of unknown species of bugs and there's a tremendous amount of biodiversity. There's a bunch of different plants that yield a bunch of different fruits and nuts and all of those things. And there's a bunch of different herbs. And there's combinations of those herbs that the indigenous people seem to know about, and their shamans say that they've known about it since time immemorial. It makes a lot of sense that there was a botanical garden that was being tended to, whatever it was, that they were using to sustain their population, and beyond that, medicinal use and spiritual use and all that stuff. And then when a cataclysm happens, there's no one left to tend it. So what do you think happens? It overgrows. Any botanist can tell you, anybody who has a yard, that's why people mow their lawn, because things go awry after a while. Plants grow, roots take hold, and in the springtime, that's why there are allergies and stuff. There's pollen everywhere. They're plant mating, essentially. So it makes total sense that the Amazon is such an aberration when it comes to nature. So with that out of the way, we can put this into perspective now. So this is a really interesting story. So this guy, Jose Capriles, he went to this place called Cueva del Chileño, a rock shelter. It's in Bolivia. It's on the western part of the Andes. So Bolivia is almost smack dab in the center, and it's on the western part of the Andes. And he found the remains of an ancient burial site. I don't think he found a body, but he found stone markers suggesting that there was a body there. And then there was a small leather bag sealed with a string. So inside was ancient drug paraphernalia. I did a similar episode on this months back about a Native American. I think he was in California. A native there. They dug up his bones, and he also had a satchel, and he had like a weed pipe. It had weed in it, and I think he had mushrooms too. But I think this is about 1,000 years. It's about around the same time, I think, as the California guy. But anyways, it's very, very fascinating. So they find this ancient drug paraphernalia, which includes bone spatulas for crushing the seeds of plants with psychoactive compounds. So they were probably making a snuff, and wooden tablets inlaid with gemstones to serve as a crushing surface, a wooden sniffing tube or snuffing tube with a carved humanoid figure, and a small pouch stitched together from the snouts of 3 foxes. So just imagining the pouch alone, sewed together with the snout of 3, that's psychedelic enough. Like if you're on mushrooms and you see that, I'm pretty sure you'll have some sort of profound experience. Not to mention all this other stuff like for grinding. So the guy who had this, he probably was either a shaman or he partook in this ritual for whatever reason, and the people who interred him felt prudent enough to bury him with the paraphernalia as well, and that counts for something. They've discovered that the 1,000-year-old bag contains the most varied combination of psychoactive compounds found at a South American site, including cocaine and the primary ingredients in a hallucinogenic tea called ayahuasca. If you don't know ayahuasca, I talked about it in a couple episodes. It's amazing to me with all the different plants and spread across a region as big as South America. The people there were able to find the 2 ingredients, put them together, and to make this brew. Now that I don't know if that's by chance. The shamans say that they were taught this through their tradition, so who knows how far back that tradition goes. It sure as hell isn't 1,000 years though. I'm pretty sure it goes further back than that. And then they found that they sourced their goods from well-established. They either had well-established trade routes because the ingredients weren't found in the same region. They were spread all over the lowlands, and this is in the highland, in the Andes, which is really high elevation, which is part of the reason why everything was preserved, was because of the elevation and the arid climate up there. But there's stuff from thousands of miles away found in the lowlands as well. So either this guy he walked all the way there and gathered everything on his own, or or there was a trade route or something. He would have had traveled great distances to acquire those plants, or they had really extensive exchange networks. So I talked about this a few times. If there are extensive exchange networks, think about what goes into that. Like what do you need to have an extensive exchange network last for as long as it does? Think about the Silk Road. The Silk Road to this day, to some degree, still exists. People still use it. It's still a known route. And how far back does the Silk Road go? I'm not going to look it up, but I know it goes back pretty far. And again, you need to have empires, maybe not even empires, but infrastructure, a group of people big enough to want to go to another land and trade, not war, but trade with the other people there. And you have to have some sort of code of ethics when doing business. So there's people had to be educated to a certain degree, and in order for that to happen, there has to be some sort of stability in the area for an extended period of time. So that's why this is such a big deal. It's not just, oh, dude, this dude found mushrooms and DMT and a snuff. Yeah, go whatever. He's still a savage living in a tribe. No, that's not possible. He had to have either descended from a larger, more advanced and when I say advanced, I just mean, again, like a code of ethics. They don't have to have iPhones. They just have to have some sort of knowledge and tradition that worked for their people for hundreds, probably thousands of years, and it provided the stability for them to experiment with drugs. And if you've done DMT, you can't function on that. So if they were hunter-gatherers, and some of them were, I think some of them do, they have done DMT, like some hunter-gatherers, but if you're fighting for your life, like a lot of people make it out that they were back then what would be the incentive to do DMT or seek it out? So again, this is all rooted in stability, and stability, when you read this in the context of what I went over, the grids, the fact that it's highly suspected that there were there was once a civilization in South America that sustained a population of millions of people, plus the Amazon. That it can kind of come together, and it becomes a lot more plausible than just saying that they experimented with psychedelics and they were shamans, but they were all living in tribes. I think that the former is a lot more convincing to me. Anyway, I digress. Indigenous groups from Central and South America have used hallucinogens such as peyote and psilocybin mushrooms. I talked about that. Check this out. This is the 3 snouts, the 3 Andean foxes. That is weird. And look how well preserved it is. This is 1,000 years old, and it's still got color. You can still, it's obvious. This is like, comes out of a horror movie almost. I could not imagine myself watching that under the influence of some sort of, especially mushrooms. I think I would freak out. But yeah, that creepy looking thing, that's just a testament to how they viewed. He kept drugs in there. Like that's a testament in and of itself to how he feels about his drug use. And he probably thought he was connecting with the spirits. It wasn't viewed as like illicit drugs back then. I mean, that should go without saying. So Miller joined the team to help chemically analyze the items, which had been nearly perfectly preserved in the arid conditions of 4,000 meter high mountains. Radiocarbon dating revealed the outer bag was made around 1000 AD or CE. And then the dust in the pouch, they use this technique called liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry, and they use that in, like, I think CSI uses that, police use that, or those forensic analysts use that, and they identified at least 5 psychoactive substances: cocaine, which comes from the leaf there. Everyone knows where cocaine comes from. Benzoylecgonine, bufotenine, harmine, and dimethyltryptamine, or DMT. So our harmine and DMT are the main ingredients in ayahuasca, used ceremonially for centuries by indigenous South Americans. I already talked about that already. The snuffing tube and the tablet may mean that the people inhaled these chemicals long before they were brewed into a beverage. Well, I mean, that is a hypothesis, but I mean, I don't know if one precludes the other. Who knows? But they definitely were sniffing it back then. And here's the pipe. This is also pretty, it's like a guy. Like this, it might be like, if I had to guess, like maybe, like when you're doing the snuff, like this might be the kind of like what's the guy's name on the river Styx who ferries you across, the ferryman? I don't know, but anyway, that's like, that might be their version of the ferryman. Like, this is the last guy you see before you just lose your sense of surroundings and go into the spirit world. That might be it. But anyway, that's someone. If someone who is good at like making pipes or whatever, or glassware, they should definitely make a replica of this. I mean, this is awesome. The mixture's origins also offer clues to the trade routes of the people who occupy the high plains. Several of the compounds come from the plant genus Anadenanthera, also known as Vilca, Siebel, or Yopo, which grows widely through South America, but not in the region of the Andes. Like I mentioned earlier that they're found in the pouch were a bunch of different ingredients, and they're spread out all over South America. So the lowlands, they obviously they're low. They're closer to sea level, so that means different stuff grows there. Same thing at elevation. Different things grow in different, not just elevations, but different conditions. So that's what this Anadenanthera thing is. It grew in the lowlands, and then harmine is the same thing. It grows, and it's a lowland Amazonian species. Miller, who was a chemist who analyzed everything, says it's possible that the mixture of compounds was unique to the region. The fact that at least 2 of the ingredients are known to be used in tandem in ayahuasca raises the possibility that this shaman was selecting plant combinations for specific mind-altering effects. So either he was experimenting, or he knew exactly how much to, like, not only the proportions, but also the different mixing and matching of different plants. He probably knew not just ayahuasca, he probably knew about a bunch of other different chemicals to mix together, and to get a specific high or a specific connection with the spirit world. Maybe maybe it's like tuning in to, like, it's like tuning your antenna, basically. If you guys remember what an antenna is, back when antennas were still around for TV, like, you can go to channel 2, or like you can go to channel 5. Well, maybe if you have mixture A and mixture C, then you get in tune with this spirit world. And maybe it varies with each mixture. Maybe that he was privy to that information, and if that's true, how did he figure that out? Or was it already documented in some way, or already known in their culture, what added with what? Kind of like how we know how to make chicken soup. Like, it might have been that commonplace. And in order to get to that level, you have to come from a stable civilization and this exchange of ideas and all that stuff. Maybe they were mixing multiple things together because they realized when they're combined, they have a whole different set of experiences. Well, yeah, of course, that's why they were doing it. Shamans say they've had ayahuasca for a very long time, and probably other stuff too. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. I hope this cleared things up a little bit. I tend to rant sometimes, but I'm just trying to communicate this with you guys. So I'll have the link to this to this article in the description, and leave me your comments. I've been getting a lot more comments, and I love reading all of them. If you guys leave a comment that says, I heard so and so, that sounds really interesting, send me a link, please, by all means. Like, I might do an episode on it, who knows. Yeah, so please let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later.